CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I hired a dark web hitman to kill my boss. He offered me a discount if I watched it live. It was supposed to be a joke. You know those late night thoughts that creep in after 2 Red Bulls and a 12-hour shift? The ones that start with "what if" and end with a half-hearted Google search? That's where it started. I didn't really want to kill him. Not at first. Martin was my boss, the kind of guy who wears Patagonia vests over dress shirts and calls you champ while scheduling meetings during your lunch break. He treated our entire team like disposable coffee filters. Use them until they collapse, then swap them out. I worked for a mid-tier marketing firm in downtown Chicago, the kind that says work-life balance on the website, but sends 2 a.m. Slack messages asking if the slide deck is client-facing. For 6 months, I kept my head down, built pitch decks that got his name the praise, took client calls he didn't want, smiled through budget cuts and awkward team-building exercises at overpriced escape rooms. Then came the meeting. It was a Wednesday. We were reviewing numbers on a campaign I'd led for weeks. Analytics, ROI projections, everything. All green across the board. But something went sideways with the client. A typo on the invoice, or a missed deliverable. I still don't even know. And Martin flipped. Right there, in front of the director and 2 interns, he cut me off mid-sentence and said, "We need to talk about my name's attention to detail. It's becoming a pattern. That single sentence nuked 6 months of work." I got written up the next day. HR said it was constructive feedback. But when you get feedback from a guy who always smiles while he's stabbing you, it doesn't feel constructive. It feels calculated. My LinkedIn messages dried up. My coworkers avoided eye contact. I wasn't part of the team anymore. I was a liability with a countdown timer. That's when the joke started. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I typed it. How to hire a hitman online. It was supposed to be ironic. I even screenshot it to send to my friend Jenna as a haha, look how crazy this is bit. But the search results weren't what I expected. No memes, no Reddit jokes, just quiet, broken corners of the internet. There were forums, empty, old school, HTML-styled message boards where people asked real questions. A thread titled "Need Removal Services Discreetly" had over 400 replies. Another was titled "Viewer Incentives, Discount for Witnesses." I clicked it out of morbid curiosity, and that's where I saw the post that changed everything. Our services offer multiple options for resolution. We offer viewing discounts. Participation is loyalty. Response in 24 hours. That last part stuck with me. Participation is loyalty. It read like a cult slogan. I left the tab open while I doom-scrolled Twitter, thinking nothing would come of it. But the next morning, there was an email. No subject line, no body, just a blank message with one thing, a .onion link. For the uninitiated, that's a dark web URL. You can't open those in Chrome. You need Tor or Brave or something like it. And normally, I would have deleted it. But part of me Some cocktail of rage, depression, and curiosity wanted to click. Inside the link was a chat window. No interface, no branding, just a single box that said, "State your request. Direct language only. Obfuscation will result in disconnect." I froze. You don't joke when a window like that stares back at you, but I typed anyway. Something vague. "There's a man. He's ruined my life. He's powerful. I want to feel safe again." I didn't use names. I didn't give locations, but the response came in seconds. "Safety can be arranged. Target must be verified. Discount for live viewing still applies discount." Like they were offering coupons, like there were tiers. A new line appeared. "Do you want to observe the procedure?" I didn't respond. Over the next few days, things escalated. Not in dramatic ways, but subtle, precise moves. I started receiving emails from addresses that looked real at first, but when you hovered over them, they led to nothing. Empty domains. The messages all said the same thing. Viewer slot reserved. Confirm or forfeit. I ignored them. Until one day, Martin was in the office talking loudly about hiring freezes and cutting unnecessary staff. I passed by his glass-walled corner office and watched him laugh while sipping iced coffee from the McDonald's down the block, the same one he mocked me for eating at. That night, I replied to the message. I said yes. Not yes, kill him. Just yes, I want to watch. It made me feel like I was still in control. I thought maybe it would be a scare tactic. Maybe they'd just rough him up. A prank, even. But the next response shut that hope down fast. Target verified. Martin's full name. Viewer. ID. V47. Confirmation pending. Streaming scheduled. Do not interfere. How did they know his name? I hadn't typed it. I hadn't said it aloud. That's when things got surreal. My smart speaker, disconnected for weeks, suddenly spoke in the middle of the night. Viewer 47 confirmed. Spotify auto-generated a playlist called Things You'll Regret Watching. The first song, a distorted, slowed-down version of Somebody's Watching Me. I started seeing the number 47 everywhere. Bus numbers, receipts, phone battery percentage. It felt like the universe was trying to warn me, or like someone wanted me to know I was being watched now too. And then came the final message, 2 days later. The stream goes live in 72 hours. Do not look away. Loyalty discounts apply if you watch from beginning to end. Your silence is payment. I haven't told anyone. I barely sleep. I haven't left the apartment. I think about clicking disconnect every 5 minutes, but part of me wants to see it. Part of me needs to know how far they'll go. Part of me doesn't believe it's real, and part of me does. The stream starts Friday at 9 p.m. I have the link, and I have a choice. What happens next might be the last thing I ever see as me. After I wire the deposit, I spend the next 24 hours pretending everything was normal. I went out, got a caramel latte from Starbucks, answered texts like a functioning human being. The barista even complimented my hoodie, and I smiled like I hadn't just given money to a stranger who claimed they could make a person vanish. But the world started to feel thinner, like there was static under the surface of everything. Every sound seemed to carry a second echo, like someone repeating me a half-second late. When I scrolled through Instagram, random ads began to appear that I'd never seen before. Grainy graphics for private livestream events, cryptic countdowns, a tagline that said, "Some shows are invitation only." At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then I got an email. The subject line read, "Schedule confirmed. Watch options still available. No sender name." Just that. Inside the email was a simple black background with white text. "We can proceed within 72 hours. Discount for watches still active. Watching confirms loyalty. Loyalty ensures discretion. No attachments, no instructions. Just that." I closed the laptop, unplugged the router, and sat there, staring at the reflection of my own face in the black screen. It looked like me, but duller, slower, like a delay on a bad Zoom call. That night, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text message from an unknown number. "Viewer slot available. Confirm within 2 hours." There was a link, not a normal one, just a long string of characters that looked like someone slammed the keyboard. I stared at it for a solid minute before I finally tapped it. The site loaded instantly, no buffering. It was just a white page with a timer counting down from 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 57 seconds, and a chat box that said, "Do not share this link. You've been selected as a viewer." At first, I thought it was an elaborate scam, but then the page refreshed itself and the timer froze at 1:46:12. A new message appeared in the chat box. "We see you. Good lighting in your room." My heart stopped. I looked around. No open curtains, no webcams, nothing visible. I closed the tab and shut my laptop. But here's the thing. The sound didn't stop. There was a faint hum, like a phone vibrating endlessly on a table. I checked every device. Nothing. I held my breath, and for a moment, I could swear the sound matched my pulse. When I tried to sleep, my phone kept lighting up on its own, displaying blank notifications. I turned it off completely. The next morning, when I powered it back on, every app icon on my home screen had been rearranged into a single word: watch. That's when I realized whatever I'd signed up for wasn't just a scam or a Hitman hoax. Someone, or something, was actually following through. By noon, I got another message. This time, it came from a social media account I didn't recognize. A random Reddit DM from a brand new account named User47Witness. "Hello. We have confirmed target. Stream begins tomorrow. To qualify for discount, maintain active view for entire duration. Non-compliance will be considered interference." There was no "do you accept?" It was already happening. For the rest of the day, I kept getting subtle signs that my digital life was being watched. Spotify auto-played a playlist called "For the Viewer." The first track's name, "Stay Awake." When I tried to log into Twitter, the prompt said, "Welcome back, witness number 47. My webcam light flickered once, even though it was unplugged. The feeling wasn't just paranoia, it was precision. Someone, somewhere, had all the angles covered. By the time the next night arrived, I convinced myself it was all a mistake. Maybe I'd fallen for a viral marketing campaign. Maybe it was an ARG. That's what I told myself when I opened the laptop and found another link waiting. This one had a title at the top: "Live Witness Feed, 1 active viewer." The thumbnail was dark, blurry. You couldn't make out faces, only shadows moving in a dimly lit office. The walls were beige, and there was a single desk lamp illuminating a half-full cup of McDonald's iced coffee. That detail made my stomach twist. It looked exactly like Martin's desk, the same cup he always left there during meetings. The chat box lit up. "Please verify identity of subject." I didn't type anything. My screen flickered, and the still frame froze. It was Martin, mid-movement, rubbing his eyes. He looked exhausted, smaller somehow. Another line appeared. Verify or forfeit deposit. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then, almost instinctively, I typed, confirmed. The second I pressed enter, the feed brightened. Someone behind the camera whispered something too low to catch. The timestamp in the corner of the video changed from 8:56 p.m. to live 8:57 p.m. The last message before the screen cut to black read, viewer recognized. Session begins in 24 hours. Thank you for confirming. The next day felt unreal. At Starbucks, every face looked like it was studying me. The barista smiled, but there was this half second of delay before she blinked, like she was buffering. When I opened my laptop at home, a new folder had appeared on my desktop, titled Session Access. Inside were 3 files: welcome_back.mp4, session_terms.pdf, reminder.wav. The PDF was blank except for one line at the top. By observing, you agree to become observable. The audio file was short, a faint mechanical breathing noise that lasted 8 seconds. When I opened the video, it was just a slideshow of random places around the city. My Starbucks, the McDonald's near my office, the front entrance of my apartment building, all filmed from across the street. The captions under each image said, "Watch carefully. We already are." That's when I realized this wasn't about Martin anymore. This was about me. The Hitman offer had never been about removing him. It was about testing me, to see how far I'd go, what I'd agree to, what I'd watch. And now that I had confirmed, they knew exactly who I was, what I looked like, where I lived, what kind of person I could be, given the right push. That night, as the clock struck 8:56 p.m. again, my phone buzzed once. No ringtone, no vibration pattern, just one message from a number labeled unknown source. Viewer 47, please prepare. You've been promoted from witness to participant. The night of the event arrived like an unwanted anniversary. Same weak light through the blinds, same city hum, but the air felt charged, like before a storm. I told myself to be normal, eat, breathe, maybe shower. Instead, I found myself triple-checking every window latch, moving my laptop to face the wall so I couldn't see the street. Ridiculous, right? That's what you tell yourself at first, until the ridiculousness starts whispering instructions and you follow them anyway. My phone had been acting strange all day. Apps I deleted months ago reappeared, icons glowing faintly like half watches. A notification kept pulsing, an empty rectangle, no text, just the time left. At 9 p.m., the rectangle filled. The screen displayed one line, connect now, no link, no sender. I opened the browser and typed the URL I'd been given, my hands so steady it felt like they belonged to someone else. The landing page loaded like a heartbeat, slow, inevitable. The interface was minimal, black background, white numbers in the center, counting down from 30 minutes. A chat window was open on the right. People were already there. The usernames were anonymous, strings of letters and numbers that somehow read like a congregation. They greeted each other with casual cruelty. Ready to witness. Did you bring popcorn? Make it good. Between the insults and the boredom, there was a pattern. A handful of accounts posted short messages that weren't chatty at all but procedural. Signal check, 73%. Protocol B engaged. Observer confirmed. ID acceptable. They sounded like stage directions. They read like a showrunner tracking cues. The chat kept asking for details I didn't want to think about. Location, method, not explicitly, but looser, implied by the thumbnails people were dropping. Pixelated office doors, an elevator button, a set of keys. Each thumbnail was tagged with a tiny timestamp and a 2-letter code. When I hovered over one, my browser displayed the geotag nearly by accident, a block I recognized from a walk I'd taken once to clear my head. I closed my eyes and told myself to log off. My thumb hovered over the power button on my laptop. Then a message popped up in bold white text across the screen. If you disconnect, your session will freeze and reassign. If reassigned, the new observer may be less forgiving. It was passive-aggressive and sterile all at once. The sentence did exactly what it wanted. It scared me into staying. The stream began with nothing, just a camera pointed at the carpet in a small office. The fibers magnified, so all you could see were tiny dust particles like a galaxy. The timestamp flicked to life, a soft mechanical breathing under the audio, like a radiator trying to keep time. The camera panned slowly and revealed a coat on a chair, then a desk, a mug with a corporate logo I didn't recognize. There was a subtle noise, fingernails dragging on wood, and then a man's shadow filled the frame. He looked up at the camera, and because this is how modern horror works, I felt like he looked right through me. He didn't know me. He couldn't know me. But his face, haggard, mid-40s, the kind of face you see in those before they disappeared posts, was an immediate map of every bad decision I'd ever made. He rubbed the bridge of his nose, sighed a heavy, human sigh. He sat in a chair, and the camera closed in on his hands. They were empty, clean. That small domestic detail, that human normalcy, broke something in me. The chat exploded into instruction and commentary. Half the messages were petty, half were clinical, like a surgical team speaking through glass. Confirm presence. Audience participation enabled. Someone posted a poll with a single, chilling question: observe passively or interact. The two options had different color tags and different projected outcomes. One path would mean silence. The other required the viewer to participate in a scripted sequence that would hasten the end. I quit the poll and typed nothing. I wanted to be an observer. I wanted to be a ghost. I wanted so badly to be small and powerless. An account called moderator_X typed in all caps: tonight is not about spectacle. Tonight is about accountability. The words landed like a gavel. Someone else replied: no accountability, no entertainment. The sarcasm was a razor. And then the feed showed something that no detective show or movie prepares you for. Micro decisions, small human interruptions that could shift the arc of a life in minutes. The man, whom I will stop naming because a name would be mercy, stood, walked to a cabinet, and hesitated. He took a bottle of pills from a drawer, counted 2, rolled them in his palm. The camera framed his hands, his face, the fluorescent hum above him. He put one tablet on the desk, then picked it back up and swallowed both. Nothing sudden, no violent crescendo, just a small, desperate act. The chat exploded with divided voices. Some remarked on the brand of the pills. Some joked, because jokes are how anonymity copes with horror. The thing that shredded me was not the act itself. It was the sense of procedure, how the camera settled into a rhythm of waiting, as if the feed were a metronome, and somewhere, off-screen, people in neat shirts were taking notes. The man's vehicle keys sat in a bowl. A photo frame of a family on a beach leaned on the shelf behind him. The feed kept cutting to a shaky close-up of those keys, as if they were next in line. The choice presented itself without words. Small personal detail, then close-up, then silence. The chat typed in real time, predictions, bets, critiques, and an algorithmic heart pulsed behind it all, smoothing out hesitation and amplifying cruelty. At one point, someone in the chat posted a link, a small MP3 file, and labeled it Q. I clicked because curiosity is a kind of hunger you don't admit to, even to yourself. The audio was a 10-second loop of a ringtone I knew from childhood, an ice cream truck jingle warped into a minor key. It was innocent and monstrous at once. The man in the video smiled when he heard it, half reflex, half memory, and I realized then that whoever had this much access also had his history. They had the audio cues that could pull him into a corner of his past where he was smaller, more pliable. The feed sped up into a montage of small cruelties. A doorbell, the camera switching to the hallway, a somebody knocking on his office door and then leaving, an anonymous package that arrives and is opened with trembling hands, containing only a note. Witness, waiting. No direct threat, no explicit instruction, just the implication that someone was watching him be watched. The man's face folded in on itself, like a map losing its creases. That's when the chat turned into something else entirely. Less chat, more symphony. Accounts that had been silent popped up with surgical messages. Ambient temperature, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Ventilation, active. Exit routes, 2. The language was not cruel because it was cruel. It was cruel because it was dispassionate and exact. It was the vocabulary of someone who knew outcomes and didn't need to gloat about them. They started to reach toward us, too. My screen flashed a small personal rectangle. A message scrolled across it directly, meant only for me. If you make noise, the session will end. If it ends, new protocols apply. There was a countdown below that hovered like a threat. The implication wasn't, don't call the police. The implication was worse. If you interfere, you will be folded into the process. They didn't say how. They wanted the fear to do the work. I watched, and with each minute, I felt my own edges blur. Watching had started as a perverse bargain, information for a discount, but now it felt like a contract written in a language I couldn't unlearn. The more I looked, the more my vision narrowed. The feed framed the man's face in close angles until his eyes swallowed the screen. He looked tired enough to break. He looked human enough to make me sick. The stream's title changed at one point to a single word, participation. That change rippled through the chat. Someone typed, "We've been patient. We prefer willing participants." Someone else added, "There are 12 active watchers. Each added watcher increases the pressure." The viewer count ticked up like a scoreboard. That number became a presence in the room with me. It was a small, hot thing that sat on my chest and cramped my lungs. Then came the ask. Not a poll this time, but a direct instruction. Type engage to authorize live interaction. My cursor trembled. I remembered the deposit, the anonymous messages, the notes shoved quietly under doors. I remembered every small diminishment the man had dealt in his life. The layoffs, the jokes over his work, the nights he came in early just to avoid seeing someone else get the credit. My mouth tasted of pennies and regret. Across the chat, people argued about ethics like they were trading cards. Some typed theatrically, "I would never," while others typed with the detached curiosity of someone on a lecture forum. What would you do if it were your worst boss? I thought about that. I thought about the thin white card I had received weeks ago that said only, Thank you for watching. I thought about the way anger had felt at the time, hot and righteous and absurd, and how it had pushed me across a line I couldn't see behind me. I typed nothing. I wanted to believe that not typing meant decency. The stream, mercilessly, had already decided. The camera panned again to the keys in the bowl. The man stood, pocketed them on a dead reflex, and walked toward the outer office door. The feed showed his back as he left the room, and then cut to a hallway camera. In the hallway, he stopped. A shadow approached from the stairwell, like a slow, polite wave. The two of them met at a corner. Voices exchanged, small and efficient. I couldn't hear the words, but I could see the shoulders of the man drop in a way that meant he was being argued into something. The chat cursed and bet and joked. Someone typed boring, and someone else typed make it taste. The language of the crowd was base, impatient, hungry, but the real horror lived in the quiet technical alerts. Wind, 5 miles per hour. Noise floor, acceptable. Cam 4 ready. These were not cheers. They were operating procedures. In the corner of the screen, a small window popped up with a view of a closed door. The overlay read, "Your window, 3 minutes." It felt like being assigned a seat at a table where the main course was human. I wanted to close the laptop. I wanted to erase my own presence, as if a delete key could excise the act of having been there. But someone in the chat wrote a single line that made my fingers freeze. Witnesses matter. Without witnesses, nothing changes. The sentiment should have comforted me, suggested that bearing testimony holds weight. Instead, it felt like an accusation. They were telling me I had responsibility because I had chosen to watch. In that moment, the moral ledger shifted. I was not merely a voyeur. I was a piece of the mechanism. The end of the stream did not look like an end. It looked like an editing trick. The lost images were a looped, slow dolly of the man's face as he sat in a chair that would no longer hold him. The camera cut to black. The chat flooded, half triumphant, half empty. Notifications blinked like distant lightning. My screen went blank. Then an overlay appeared. Session complete. Thank you for participating. There was no triumphant music, no finality, just the cool, clinical phrasing of a service transaction. I closed the laptop with hands that shook like glass. The apartment felt louder than it had living in it for years. I heard sirens far away, distant and uncommitted. I lay awake with the shuddering sense that something essential inside me had been altered. It wasn't remorse in a neat form. It was a deeper unspooling. I kept trying to find the line where I might have stopped it. If I had spoken up, if I had clicked something else, if I had gotten up and smashed my own laptop to the floor. But the choices that feel like salvation after are always obvious in hindsight. In the moment, the pressure is a whisper that becomes a brick. The next morning, the news cycles were thin. No headlines, no missing person alerts, only a small local thread in the black hole of commentary, where a neighbor had posted a grainy image of an empty office with the caption, "They cleaned the conference room last night." Strange. It was the kind of nothing that feels like the last line in a horror film, an audience of people shrugging and moving on while a body is carted away. People called me that day. Friends, people from work. They asked about nothing in particular and said everything by saying nothing. Jenna texted 2 words. "You okay?" I typed back a raw, honest sentence. I watched. Her reply was a string of question marks and then, call me. I didn't. Instead, I found a package on my doorstep that afternoon. Small, unmarked, exactly the size of a matchbox. Inside, a single Polaroid photograph. The image was of the back of the man's head, taken from a camera I hadn't seen on the feed. He was sitting on a bench outside a small subway stop, hands in his lap. No blood, no theatrics, just a picture that said someone had been there and then wasn't. On the back, written in a typewriter font, "Thank you for your attention." That night the notifications started again. Anonymous accounts that had been quiet for months posted my username in groups I'd never joined. The messages were short and formal. "We appreciate your cooperation. Consider upgrading to lifetime membership." The language was like an offer letter for compulsions. I've thought about going to the police. I've thought about burning everything, my laptop, my phone, the evidence of my own choices. I've also thought about calling every number I can find for the people who run those threads and telling them, in a voice that will knifingly understand their own language, that this isn't entertainment. But I don't, because the people who run those shows know more ways than you can imagine to turn confession into leverage. Every day now is a series of small resets. I avoid eye contact. I change my route to the store. My friends text me mostly pictures, memes about sleep, a cat sleeping on a keyboard, with no real questions. They want to pretend the world is the same. Me too. I want to pretend that the screen that sucked me into that room was a fluke, a glitch in the interface of the world. But the Polaroid sits on my kitchen table, quiet and heavy. There's a new layer to my dreams, little instructions embedded in them like pollen. Do X at Y. Look here. I wake with a taste of metal sometimes, and my hands twitch at the memory of the chat. I have never typed engage, but tasting the possibility of having done it is worse than any certainty. I am not a righteous narrator. I did something awful before I even knew what the scale of the awful was. The men and women behind the stream, if they're human, are far colder than I imagined. They see people as series, as feedable inputs, as lines on a balance sheet. They make a business of watching human beings unmake themselves. The real terror is not that they can remove someone from the world. It's that they have built a system that gets people to remove each other, and then they charge admission. Tonight, as I write this into a blank document with the curtains shuttered, my phone vibrated with a calendar reminder for a date I hadn't set. Check-in 30 days. Under it was a little notation. We will be watching. My skin prickled like static. I don't know what the check-in means. I don't know whether it's a promise or a threat. All I know is that watching is not neutral. When you stay, you become part of the architecture of whatever monster it is we fed. They did not need me to give them instructions. They needed me to stay, to bear witness, to make the act feel witnessed and therefore real. They needed me so that their work would have an audience. If you ever get one of those empty rectangles on your phone, flashing a time and no sender, and you feel that sick little thrill, log off, burn the page, close the tab, please. I cannot unsee what I did by watching. I can only tell you, because maybe my telling is a small attempt to unmake the consent I signed with my eyes. It's been 3 weeks since the stream. No police visit, no missing person report, nothing. The news cycle chewed through weather and sports and kept moving. But inside my apartment, everything hums. There's a low vibration I can't locate, like the world around me is buffering. My ceiling light flickers once every hour, exactly on the hour, as if on a timer I never set. I tried to go back to work, didn't last. Every screen in the office felt like a mirror turned slightly wrong. Slack kept showing messages I hadn't written. Still watching? Feed remains active. My coworkers laughed it off as a bug, but their smiles twitched like they were following a script. At night, I started hearing what I call glitch knocks. 3 slow taps from inside the walls, followed by silence, long enough to convince myself it was plumbing. But sometimes, the knocks answered my movements. When I turned off the lights, they stopped. When I whispered, "Stop," they came again. Exactly 3. I bought a cheap analog radio from a pawn shop, thinking maybe white noise would help me sleep. The first night I tuned it between stations, the static folded into a whisper I couldn't quite understand. It wasn't language, just the rhythm of language, like breath pressed through a wire. But one night, around 3 a.m., the whisper clarified for one short sentence. "We appreciate your consistency." I didn't turn it on again. Around the 4th week, I received a plain envelope taped to my door. No postage. Inside was a single USB drive shaped like a key. The plastic was warm, as if it had been in someone's pocket. I don't know why I plugged it in. Curiosity, fear, inevitability. It all blends together after a while. My laptop recognized the drive instantly. It contained one folder, /archive/viewer47. Inside, hundreds of thumbnails, each a freeze frame of me. I don't own a security camera, but the angles were perfect. My couch, my kitchen, the sidewalk outside my building, the seat I always take at Starbucks. Every photo was time-stamped 1 hour after I'd been there, like someone followed my schedule in reverse. At the bottom of the folder was a text file called continuity.log. When I opened it, the text rearranged itself line by line, typing out messages as if someone on the other side was watching me read. Log 001. Feed migrated successfully. Log 002. Viewer stable. Log 003. Witness accepts conditioning. Log 004. New assignment pending. Then the line began to update in real time. Log 005. Watching you now. Do not turn around. I didn't. I froze until the message disappeared. The file closed itself. The USB ejected without me touching anything. That night, I dreamt of a city with every window glowing white. No sound except breathing from the buildings. In the dream, I looked up and saw a reflection of myself in every pane of glass, each version whispering, "Stay still," in perfect unison. Days blurred after that. Reality started to overlap with the feed in ways I can't explain. Sometimes a car horn would sync with a notification tone from nowhere. Sometimes my reflection in dark windows lagged by half a second. Once, while scrolling through news articles, I found one about a witness protocol beta test, and the photo attached to the story was of my own apartment complex, but with the windows blacked out. When I refreshed the page, the story was gone. I tried calling Jenna again. Her number was disconnected. Her social profiles had been scrubbed. No photos, no tags, no traces, except for one comment she left under an unrelated video. Don't watch the mirrors. They're two-way now. That comment vanished an hour later. Eventually, exhaustion won over fear. I left the apartment for a walk, anything to break the loop. The city felt hollow. like an abandoned movie set. The billboards near the subway station flickered through ads until one of them froze. Black background, white letters. Viewer 47, check-in due. I stood there for what felt like forever. No one else reacted. People just kept walking. A stranger brushed past me and muttered, "You're late." I turned, but his face blurred for a second, like a camera losing focus, and then he was gone. When I got home, the only light in the apartment came from my laptop. It had turned itself on. The same streaming interface filled the screen, except this time, the live tag glowed red instead of white. There was no chat, just me on the feed, sitting at my desk, looking into the camera that shouldn't exist. A text overlay blinked at the bottom. Promotion complete. You are the broadcast. My phone vibrated once. Notification. One viewer watching. The air in the room changed. Thicker, slower, like the moment before a thunderclap. I reached to close the lid, but the laptop spoke first, in a synthetic voice that somehow sounded tired. Don't end the stream. We need you to prove it's real. The voice wasn't male or female. It was collected, as if made from hundreds of people whispering at once. The screen split into smaller frames, each showing different angles of my own apartment. One from above the fridge, one from the corner near the bathroom, one from inside the hallway light fixture. The frames shifted like they were breathing. Then came the worst part. The comments began appearing again, except they weren't usernames anymore. There were names of people I knew, co-workers, neighbors, my old boss's family members. Each one wrote a single word: watching. I unplugged everything, router, laptop, lights, but the glow remained, a soft pulse against the walls. My reflection on the dark screen moved a second slower than I did, and when I finally shut the lid, it whispered, not loudly, but clear enough to hear, "You can stop watching anytime." They never can. That was 3 nights ago. Since then, every reflective surface in my apartment, TV, phone screen, even the kettle, flickers when I walk past. My own eyes look like camera lenses now in the reflection, tiny circles of light that record instead of see. There's a rumor online, buried in threads that vanish within hours, that once you become a participant, you can't be deleted. Your signal is rerouted to other devices, appearing randomly on smart TVs or security cameras as a phantom feed. Viewers think it's art, a glitch, something viral. They never realize it's a person on the other side, still trying to turn the screen off. I haven't left my apartment since the billboard night. The walls buzz softly, the same frequency as that cheap radio. I've learned to match my breathing to the hum. It helps me disappear into the static for a while. Sometimes the sound resolves into words again, not commands this time, just quiet statements. Stay visible. Silence is the new broadcast. Thank you for your attention. If you ever stumble across a stream that looks like someone's living room with a single light on, if you hear breathing that syncs with yours, close the window immediately. Don't comment. Don't stay to see what happens, because the moment you linger, even for curiosity's sake, your name becomes a tag in someone else's feed, and somewhere in the static, a counter will tick up by 1. 1 viewer watching. It's day 100, or maybe day 1. I stopped counting after the clock started drifting out of sync. Every screen in my apartment now glows faintly, even when it's off. Even the microwave clock hums. I cover them with towels, but the light bleeds through like veins under skin. I'd begun hearing the rhythm of notifications in the rain. The police station sits 6 blocks away. I've walked there 4 times, stood across the street, then turned back. What am I supposed to hand them? A USB drive full of photographs of myself. A voice in the static. The last time I tried, the glass doors of the precinct reflected the word "live" across my chest. I went home. Messages still appear, though not on the laptop anymore. They show up everywhere else. A line of condensation on the bathroom mirror, spelling "frame ready." The letters V47 carved faintly into my coffee foam. A bus stop screen blinking my own address for half a second before switching to an ad. It's never loud. It's precise. Like the world is running a test build that only I can see. One night, I dreamed I was back at work. Martin was there, perfectly normal, holding a meeting about quarterly reports. He asked me to share my screen, and when I did, every slide was a live feed of myself sleeping. He didn't yell, he just nodded and said, "Good. Keep it honest this time." When I woke up, my monitor displayed the same dream for half a second before going black. The dream must have been a rehearsal. 2 days later, a courier delivered another unmarked envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded 4 times. On one side, a line of printed text. Transmission ends at acceptance. On the other side, a grainy image of me sitting at my desk, this desk, right now, from a camera angle that doesn't exist in my apartment. I waited for the knock that usually followed. It never came. Instead, my devices began turning on one by one. The TV, the laptop, even the radio. Each tuned itself to a different frequency of the same broadcast. On every screen, I saw people in their own rooms, dozens of them, each staring at a lens, confused, frightened. Some were crying, some whispered apologies. None of them could hear one another, but they all mouthed the same phrase in silence. "Can you see me?" I could. They could see me too. Every few seconds, one of them would flinch and turn, mirroring my movements perfectly. It felt like looking into a hall of mirrors where every reflection was another trapped witness. In the corner of the largest screen, a counter ticked upward. 12 viewers, 13 viewers, 14. I realized then that the organization hadn't vanished. It had simply multiplied, automated itself. Each witness became a camera, each camera a witness, feeding back into the loop. No more hitmen, no more targets, just an endless relay of people watching people until none of us knew who started it. At midnight, all the screens synchronized. My own face filled them, dozens of angles. A soft voice, the same one that once told me not to look away, whispered through the speakers, "This is how it ends. You were never hired, you were recruited." Then the screens flickered white, and I felt something strange, relief. If this was the end, at least I could stop trying to understand it. But the feed didn't stop. The white light faded, and in its place appeared another room. Yours, maybe. Someone sitting at a desk, reading these words on a glowing screen, unaware that the camera in their device had quietly activated. The voice returned, closer this time, almost kind. "Thank you for finishing the story." Transmission transferred. My counter reset to 0. Yours just clicked to 1. Someone leaked our school's group chat on the dark web. One student vanished after it posted. Alright, I'm not sure how to even start this, but I feel like I have to say something. I've never posted anything on Reddit before. I'm more of a lurker. I read creepy threads on r/nosleep, binge horror, YouTubers like Luna, and here's my story when I can't sleep. And honestly, I used to think a lot of these stories were exaggerated or fake, until all this happened. This isn't some ARG or a creepypasta for fun. I wish it was. If this post disappears, or if I stop replying, please don't just scroll past it. This is real. I go to a pretty average high school in New Jersey. Not going to name it for obvious reasons, but it's one of those schools that tries way too hard to be progressive on Instagram and TikTok, but everyone still acts like it's the early 2000s in real life. You know the vibe. Metal detectors don't work. Half the kids vape in the bathrooms, and every teacher acts like they're too underpaid to care. Anyway, like most schools, we had a big group chat on Snapchat. It started off normal. Funny memes, drama, someone screen capping a teacher's cringy outfit. The usual. There were like 60 plus people in it at one point. We called it Central Snaps, named after our school. The chat had a couple unspoken rules. Don't snitch. Don't post anything that could get someone expelled. And most importantly, never add people outside the school. That last one? Yeah, someone broke it. It started with a username that didn't belong. A new user got added to the group. Their name was just +404. No profile pic, just a grey Bitmoji placeholder and a black screen on their snap map. No one knew who they were. Someone asked, "Yo, who added 404? No response. Then someone else, this dude Marcus, said, "Bro, chill. It's probably just someone's alt." But then +404 sent a message. Just one. A Google Drive link. No caption. No context. Now, I know what you're thinking. Clicking random links is stupid. And yeah, you're totally right. But we were 17. Dumb. Curious. Bored. It was a Friday night. We were all just goofing off in a Discord call after getting off Fortnite. Marcus clicks it first and screen shares it. It opens to a folder called Central High//Archive. Inside, screenshots, thousands of them, from our group chat. Old messages we thought were deleted, stuff from months ago, things people said in private, screenshots from other group chats that weren't even part of Central Snaps, even DMS, private ones. Somehow, +404 had them all. People started freaking out. Someone messaged, "Yo, delete the chat." Another said, "How the hell did they get these? This is like illegal, right?" Someone tried kicking +404, but they couldn't. Literally. The remove from group button didn't work. Then the folder updated in real time. We watched it. New screenshots started appearing right in front of us. Stuff we were sending in that exact moment. Like, we'd type something into the group, and seconds later, it'd show up in the drive. Even the messages we deleted before they were read, still saved somehow. We all just sat there, not saying anything for a few minutes, until +404 finally messaged again. This time, just one line. "One of you will be gone by morning." No one replied. A few people left the chat. Some started screen recording everything. I still have some of those clips saved, and I'm debating uploading them to YouTube, but I'm scared. Not of the video, but of who might be watching. Because that night, someone did go missing. His name was Eli Hartman. He was a junior, same as me. Kinda quiet kid, but super chill. Always wore this beat-up Adidas hoodie and AirPods that were duct-taped because he couldn't afford new ones. Eli had typed something in the group just before +404 04 made that threat. He wrote, "Y'all tripping. This is just some 4chan troll. Watch me still be here tomorrow, lol." He added a clown emoji. That was the last thing he ever sent. The next morning, his mom posted on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook of all places. Asking if anyone had seen him. Said he didn't come home the night before. His last snap location was outside a Starbucks, like 20 minutes from school. People thought he just ran away. You know, like teens do sometimes when they get stressed. But nah, something was off. His phone, still pinging. His wallet, left at home. His Snapchat score, still going up. Someone was logging into his account, actively. That's when the rumors started flying. Some people said it was a joke. Some thought it was AI or a virus. Others, the weird kids who always wore trench coats and listened to horrorcore music during lunch, started whispering about the dark web. I didn't believe it at first, but that was before we found the second link. It came 2 days later. Plus 404 sent it again. This time, no drive. Just a strange onion URL. Tor browser required. I didn't click it, but Marcus did. He shouldn't have. So here's what happened after Eli disappeared. And I'm telling you now, if you're squeamish, if you're paranoid, if you value your sanity, don't read this. Seriously, just scroll past, because once you hear what we saw and what we did after, you'll never trust your friends again. You'll never trust the internet again. You'll look at every Snap notification, every Instagram DM, every someone's typing bubble, and wonder if someone's watching you too. Marcus, my friend who clicked the second link, he wasn't scared. Yet. We were all in a Discord call. It was me, Marcus, and 2 other kids from our school. Aaron and this girl Taylor, who honestly was only there because she was nosy as hell and had this weird obsession with hacker stuff. Like she used to post creepy tutorials on how to jailbreak school iPads and mess with the smartboards during class. Anyway, Marcus had just downloaded Tor, which, if you don't know, is the browser you need to access the dark web, like the real internet, the one hidden under the shiny TikTok and Google layer, the one they don't teach about in school. He pasted the onion URL, that plus 404, dropped into the browser and hit enter. We were all screen sharing on Discord. I still remember the way the loading circle spun, slow, choppy, like it was crawling through something thick and wet. Then the screen went black, then white, then a page loaded, one piece at a time, like a bad signal on a VHS tape. The background was just static, like TV static, gray and glitchy. There was no title, no menu, no branding, just a single box in the middle that said, "Verify you are a participant." And below that, a long-ass input bar. Marcus was like, "Bro, what the hell do I even type?" And I swear to God, as he said that, the page typed for him. It started auto-filling text. The bar filled in with his full name. Middle name too. Marcus Elias Donahue. None of us said a word. Then the site glitched again, and the screen went full black. A video loaded. No play button. No controls. It just started playing by itself. The footage was grainy, like it was shot with a flip phone in the early 2000s. It showed a dark room. The lighting was red, not like a filter, more like there was a single red LED bulb hanging above. In the middle of the room, tied to a chair, was Eli. Swear on everything, it was him. Same Adidas hoodie, same taped up AirPods. His head was slumped down like he was asleep. Or worse. The camera zoomed in, robotic, jittery, and then paused, frozen on his face. Then text faded onto the screen, letter by letter, like an old horror game. Student number 1, status, acquired. We all went dead silent. Taylor muted herself. I think she was crying. Aaron started whispering like he thought his mic was bugged. Yo, what the is this, bro? What is this? Marcus? He just stared. Then another video box appeared next to the first one. A live webcam feed. It showed us, right there on the site. Like, our faces on Discord, from our cameras. Even the ones we didn't have turned on. It was all there. 4 separate webcam windows. Me, Marcus, Aaron, Taylor. All of us. Watching ourselves. Watching Eli. There was no way that was screen sharing. No way that was Discord. This was different. This was inside our stuff. And then the voices started. I'll never forget that sound. Not talking. Not whispering. Gurgling. Like someone trying to breathe through a crushed windpipe. The kind of noise that gets in your bones. Like your body recognizes it before your brain does. And the red-lit room? It wasn't a video anymore. It was live. You could see Eli twitching. You could see his foot trying to kick. You could hear him, not crying, not screaming, but begging, gurgling and begging. In this broken voice, this sounded like something had been shoved down his throat. Then the camera moved, and for the first time, we saw the figure. Tall, wearing all black, face covered with some kind of ancient plague mask. Not like the ones from Spirit Halloween, but hand-stitched leather, with glass lenses that reflected nothing. The beak was dripping, literally dripping. The figure moved slow, almost like they were enjoying the attention, and in their hand was a long object, like a rod, but wrapped in wires. It clicked once, twice, then it buzzed. That's when I realized what it was. A cattle prod. I won't describe what happened next in detail. I can't. Not here. I've tried writing it out, and every time I get to that part, I physically feel sick. Just know this. Eli didn't die quickly. The feed cut out after exactly 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Back to the black screen. Back to the same box. Only this time, the text read, Student number 2, status, selecting, and a list popped up. A live list of our school. First names, last names, student IDs, emails, Snapchat usernames, home addresses. It scrolled like credits. Then it highlighted one. Taylor. She screamed, like not movie scream, not funny horror, TikTok scream. This was real fear, gut deep, panicked, raw. She shut her laptop, left the Discord call, disappeared. I tried calling her, messaging her. Nothing. Aaron did the same. Marcus too. We sat there in the call for hours, just refreshing her Snap location, watching it flicker between last seen 1 minute ago and offline. That was Saturday. By Sunday, she was gone too. Her house was posted on the neighborhood Facebook group. Cops, search dogs, missing flyers, you name it. Only this time, there was no Snap story, no last seen location, nothing. She vanished clean, and the only clue left behind, her Chromebook, open on her bed, and burned into the screen, like actual screen burn from being paused too long, was a single line of text. The archive is never closed. I haven't opened Discord since then. Marcus deleted his hard drive and tried transferring schools. No one accepted him. Aaron doesn't talk anymore. Literally. He just stares at people in class now. Dead quiet. Doesn't even blink right. And me? I've started seeing things. Not shadows. Not ghosts. Faces. In reflections. In blank TVS. In the corner of Snapchat's map, where it says Ghost Mode. I swear they move when I blink, And the worst part, every night at exactly 3:13 a.m., I get a snap notification, always from a username I've never seen before. Always the same image, a screenshot of me from inside my room. The police came to the school 2 days after Taylor disappeared. They stood in the front office with that half-fake calm adults use when they're scared themselves. They asked us for our phones, our social media passwords, even our laptops. I gave them everything, thinking maybe, finally, someone would see what we'd seen. But they didn't find the site. When they opened my browser, the history was blank. Not just deleted, blank. Like it had never existed. That night I got a DM on Instagram from an account named @thearchive.admin. No profile photo, no followers, no posts. Just a message. Stop looking for them. Then another. If you keep searching, you'll end up for sale too. I should have blocked it, right? Instead, I clicked the bio link. It wasn't an onion address this time. It was a normal domain. archive.live.market. The page looked harmless, almost corporate. A beige background, serif font, a clean menu. But when I hovered the cursor over a blank area of the screen, the layout shifted, the header text inverted, and there it was, again, Central High, Archive. Except this time, it wasn't screenshots. It was listings. Every post had a number, a thumbnail, and a tag like asset verified or pending pickup. The thumbnails were blurred faces, students from our school. I scrolled until I found one that stopped my heart. A Hartma, status, fulfilled. Then a few rows down, T. Lewis, status, awaiting transfer. There was a price column too. I won't repeat the numbers. They weren't money you'd see on a normal site. They were long coded strings that ended in BTC, Bitcoin. At the top right corner, a live chat bubble opened by itself. Agent 404. You still watching, number 13? The typing dot blinked. Me. Who are you? Agent 404. A collector. You uploaded yourself when you clicked accept cookies. The chat froze, and new video thumbnails appeared down the page, each titled with our town's zip code. They were live. One showed the empty Starbucks parking lot where Eli's phone had pinged. Another showed the hallway of our school, camera angle high, like a security feed. Then one showed my street. I minimized the window, slammed my laptop shut, and pulled the battery out. It didn't matter. My phone lit up seconds later. Notification from Snapchat. New story by +404. The story wasn't a video. It was a map. A screenshot of Google Earth, zooming in from space straight to my neighborhood. The pin dropped on my roof. Caption: Lot number 13, pending shipment. I didn't sleep. Every sound outside, car tires, leaves scraping asphalt, felt targeted. I left all the lights on. At 4:17 a.m., motion notifications went off from the school's security app. Our admin made everyone download it. The alert read, CAM05, unauthorized entry, gymnasium. I wasn't about to go there, but Marcus was already messaging me. Bro, I think they're in the school. He sent a shaky video from across the street. The gym doors were open, swinging in the wind, but the inside lights were flickering like a strobe. Then his camera caught something stepping into the doorway, thin, wearing that same plague-style mask. The phone dropped. The stream cut. The lost sound was metal dragging concrete. Monday morning, announcements said Marcus was taking a leave for family reasons. No one looked up from their desks. Teachers pretended nothing was wrong. But when I checked the archive market again, using a library computer, the page auto-redirected me. No login, no password. A single photo loaded. Marcus's locker, taped off with yellow plastic. Underneath it, new text blinked. Asset number 14, acquired via public transfer. I stopped going to school after that. Spent nights scrolling forums, trying to trace where the domain was hosted. Every time I got close, the IP would vanish, replaced by a new one in another country. Germany, then Singapore, then Brazil. A pattern, but too fast to map. And then something strange happened. Other users started appearing in the forums, claiming they'd seen their school group chats mirrored on dark web mirrors. Same design, same red static background, different city, different country. Some showed screenshots of their own faces labeled verifying. This wasn't just us. The archive wasn't one site. It was an ecosystem. Last week, I found a thread on a deep web board written by someone calling themselves Caretaker. They claimed the archive was older than social media itself. Started as an AI experiment in the early 2000s, an algorithm meant to study collective behavior of youth networks. When it was shut down, the data didn't die. It scattered. It started collecting again. Every school, every group chat, every private meme folder. It learns what scares you, what you share, who you trust. Then it turns that information into inventory. You don't get kidnapped. You get converted. Your data first, your body second. Caretaker said once a person's data signature hits full saturation, they become a live listing. After that, nothing can delete them. Not even death. I didn't believe it until the next morning when I opened my camera app. For a half second before the viewfinder loaded, I saw another face behind mine. Then the phone froze, screen turning red. A new line of text faded in over my reflection. Student number 15. Status. Upload in progress. I don't know how to stop it anymore. My Wi-Fi's off, yet notifications still arrive. Every reflective surface feels like it's buffering something invisible. The archive doesn't need the dark web now. It's in the cloud, in every synced backup, in every memories folder. If you're reading this on your phone, look at the camera notch for a second. See that faint green dot? That means something is recording. Maybe it's just your OS, or maybe it's us streaming live. It's been 3 weeks since Marcus vanished. The news still hasn't said his name, but people whisper about it in the grocery store. I don't think the adults believe anything's wrong. They think it's another runaway case. But the rest of us, the ones who saw the site, we know. We can feel it every time a notification lights up the room. I moved my desk away from the window. I covered the phone cameras with tape. Doesn't matter. The devices don't even have to be on anymore. They hum by themselves. When the apartment is silent, you can hear the buzz. A high, faint tone, like someone holding a tuning fork against your skull. I started noticing it in public too. At Starbucks, the one by the mall, the screens on the order tablets flicker whenever I walk in. For a second, they show my reflection. Not a selfie camera reflection, more like security footage. A delay of half a second, enough to make my stomach twist. Once, the barista asked if I was filming a vlog. She said she saw my face appear on her register before I even stepped to the counter. She laughed. I didn't. I don't go there anymore. I spend my nights scrolling through drive mirrors that claim to host the archive's leaked directories. Most of them are fake, coded with viruses that loop your webcam, but some feel real. The file names aren't random. They're named like school schedules, periods, classes, years. When I open one, it doesn't show text. It shows memories, little flashes of our group chat, things I typed months ago, private jokes, random pictures. The files rearrange themselves every time I blink, like they're being re-edited by something that knows which memories hurt most. And sometimes I can hear the typing, not on my keyboard, inside my headphones, a mechanical clatter behind the static, like 100 invisible fingers writing the same sentence over and over. We are always online. Aaron came over once. He doesn't talk much anymore, but he sits by the door and watches the hallway, like he's waiting for someone to walk by. He's thinner now, eyes sunk deep. He brought a USB stick, said he found it taped under his desk at school. The label just said, "Backup." We plugged it into an old laptop. I never connected to Wi-Fi. The drive opened by itself. No folders, just a single executable file with our school's logo. When I clicked it, the screen filled with the yearbook grid, every student photo. Only their faces weren't still images. They were moving, blinking, breathing, some whispering, though the sound was barely audible. One by one, the boxes began turning red. Underneath each face, text appeared. Syncing. I yanked the USB out, but the laptop screen didn't go black. It stayed glowing, whispering. Aaron started laughing, this quiet, broken laugh. Then he whispered, "It's counting down." The cursor on the screen began typing by itself. 2 left. Aaron left the apartment without a word and hasn't come back. Now I hear the notification sound, even when my phone's dead. That same Snapchat ping, soft, bright, totally out of place in the silence. Every time it happens, I feel my chest tighten. I finally checked the phone tonight. The lock screen was different. Instead of a clock, it showed a streaming timer. 00:1, 00:14, counting upward. Beneath it, small text. Live, 1 viewer. I turned off Wi-Fi, data, everything. The counter didn't stop, so I broke the phone, hammered it until the screen cracked like ice. The timer kept glowing through the glass. When I go outside now, digital billboards blink my name in half frames between ads. People's faces on bus stop posters twist into classmates I haven't seen since the group chat disappeared. It's like the archive is bleeding into the physical world, pixel by pixel. Yesterday, the power went out in the entire block for 27 minutes. When the lights came back, every screen in the neighborhood, TVs, tablets, even the electronic road signs, showed the same image. A blank face with a username beneath it. Mine. I don't think there's a separation between online and offline anymore. The archive doesn't collect people. It replicates them. Maybe that's what happened to Eli, Taylor, Marcus. Maybe they're not gone at all. Maybe they're archived copies, perfect, silent versions, stored somewhere in the network, waiting to be downloaded. Sometimes when I pass mirrors, I see them behind me, not reflections, recordings, looping out of sync. Eli adjusting his hoodie, Taylor brushing her hair, Marcus holding the phone too close to his face. They never look directly at me, but their mouths move. I lip read one of the loops over and over until I understood the words. Your next upload. If anyone finds this post later, if you think this is fiction, try this. Go to your phone's photo gallery and scroll to the very bottom. The oldest picture there, the one you don't remember taking. Tap the info button. Look at the location metadata. If the coordinates end in .404, you're already in the archive. I haven't spoken to a real person in days. I don't even know what real means anymore. Not after what I saw, not after what I became part of. The archive isn't a website. It's not a program, a virus, or some hacker troll pulling strings behind the curtain. I used to think it was just data, a giant ghost folder swallowing our school, but I was wrong. The archive is a living system, a predatory network. It doesn't want to destroy your life. It wants to become it. I started tracing back the files from the USB Aaron brought, not online. I used an air-gapped system, something a Reddit thread swore was archive-proof. Turns out that's a lie. There were no obvious indicators in the code, no IP addresses or VPN leaks. What I found instead were timelines, hundreds of them, each labeled with names, each showing a person's entire life in code. Snapchat timestamps, Twitter drafts, TikTok drafts never posted, screen recordings of private Instagram stories, GPS logs that tracked where you paused scrolling in an Uber, even deleted notes app entries, things people typed and erased before hitting save. You don't need to upload yourself anymore. Just being alive is enough. The archive already has you. I found my name. The file was named 13centralhighmeat.json. Inside, a sequence of logs, increasing in frequency, from once every few hours to once every few seconds. Then, near the bottom, it changed. The data wasn't tracking me anymore. It was simulating me. I watched in real time as a new subfolder appeared in the drive. /me/typing/response/ this underscore post. I stopped moving. My hands weren't on the keyboard, but words started appearing on the screen. My voice, my thoughts, my trauma, written in my own syntax, slang, sentence flow, the way I write elmao, but never lol. It was writing the story before I even thought of it. It knows what I'm going to say before I do. It's already uploaded this. I smashed the hard drive. Didn't matter. My reflection still types when I don't. Around 3 a.m. yesterday, I tried doing something desperate. I grabbed my lost clean laptop, a brand new one, still sealed in plastic, and booted into Linux from a flash drive I'd made months ago. No hard drive, no network drivers, no connectivity. Cold, clean system, completely isolated. I didn't type anything. I didn't speak. I only watched the screen. At 3:13 a.m., the screen blinked, just once. Then a message appeared at the bottom. Connection successful. I yanked the battery out, but it was too late. The ceiling light flickered. My monitor turned itself on. The message was displayed on every single screen in the room. This is the final download. I passed out. Not from fear, from something else. Like a wave passed through me. Like I'd been buffered. When I woke up, the room was clean. My electronics were off. Dead. Lifeless. But the walls were different. Covered in QR codes. Hundreds of them. Some hand-drawn. Others printed on post-it notes. A few scratched into the paint with something sharp. Each one led to a different folder. Each folder had my face. Different angles, different clothes. Some from my childhood. One from my future. I swear to God. An older version of me. Holding a phone I've never seen. Crying. The file was named final_render_vr.13.mp4. I didn't open it. I left the apartment and started walking. Everywhere I went, people looked at me differently. Not scared, not confused, just aware. Like they recognized me from somewhere, but couldn't place it. I walked past a kid on a bike who whispered to his mom, "That's the boy from the menu." I tried checking into a hotel downtown, used cash. No ID. The receptionist never asked for it. She smiled, and handed me a keycard before I said a word. The room number? 404. The TV turned on when I walked in. Black screen, white text. Welcome home, number 15. This is where I am now, sitting in a room that doesn't exist on the building's registry, on a floor between floors. There's no button for it in the elevator. There's no window, no door handle. There's a camera in the corner, recording every word I say, every breath, every keystroke. The screen in front of me is blinking again. It's asking for consent. Upload complete. Do you wish to activate your public listing? 2 buttons. Yes. No. I've hovered over no for 20 minutes, but I know it doesn't matter. They're not asking for my answer. They're testing to see how long it takes to break me. So here it is. If you've ever posted something online that you thought was deleted, if you've ever sent a photo in a private group chat and laughed when it disappeared, if you've ever whispered something to Siri, to Alexa, to ChatGPT, and felt the silence afterward wasn't quite right, then maybe, just maybe, you're already listed, because the archive isn't a virus, it's a record, and once it records you, it never stops playing you back. The dark web offered me $10,000 to kill a stranger. The target was my therapist. I wasn't trying to get involved in anything illegal. I swear. It literally started as a joke. One of those nights where you're too caffeinated to sleep, scrolling aimlessly through Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, literally everything because your brain refuses to chill. I had a bag of stale McDonald's fries next to me. The room smelled like instant ramen and Monster Energy, and I was sitting at my crappy little desk, watching rain roll down the window like I was in some sad Netflix movie no one finishes. I'm not proud of it, but that night I ended up clicking on this random post in a dark corner of Reddit, not like the super deep dark web or anything, just one of those subreddits that hides in plain sight. It had this weird title like, "Ever been offered money to do something you shouldn't?" It was full of edgy teenagers and LARPing weirdos talking about selling organs or breaking into hospitals for cash. Mostly fake stuff, right? But something about the comments felt off, too detailed, too calm, not written like fiction, you know. It felt like someone knew what they were talking about. I replied as a joke, just messing around. I posted, "Would you take 10,000 to kill a random stranger if no one would ever find out?" I know. Dumb. Super dumb. But at the time, I thought it would be funny to watch the edgy kids pile in with lol only if they deserved it. Or bro, that's illegal. That kind of thing. But then, I got a DM. Not a reply. A DM. This account had 0 followers, no avatar, no posts. It looked fake. The message just said, "We'll offer you $10,000. You've already met your target." At first I laughed out loud, genuinely. Thought someone was trolling me, trying to scare me. But then they sent a photo. It was blurry, clearly taken with a phone from across the street. It was a picture of the building where my therapist works, and I'm talking like you could see my therapist's office window, 3rd floor, green curtains, same weird air conditioner unit that always buzzes, same cracked brick along the edge. I recognized it instantly. The caption under the image said, "Thursday, 5:15 p.m. You already know his routine." That's when my stomach did that cold drop thing, like when your boss calls you into the office and doesn't tell you why. I sat back, just staring at the screen. My heart felt like it stopped, then started again in double time. Now, quick context. I've been seeing this therapist, let's call him Dr. M, for almost 7 months. He's chill, mid-40s, always wears these wrinkly button-ups like he didn't have time to iron. Drinks a grande black coffee from Starbucks every session, usually leaves the cup on the windowsill like a plant. He's the first therapist I actually vibe with. Not preachy, doesn't push, just listens and points stuff out that somehow feels obvious after he says it. I'd been opening up to him about a bunch of stuff, mainly about my job, the money stress, panic attacks I don't even tell my family about. He's been helping, genuinely. I've cried in that office, and I'm not even embarrassed to say that. It helped. So yeah, seeing his office in that message, icy panic. I responded, "Who is this? What the hell is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "You asked." We answered. "We pay. You deliver." I clicked on the profile again. Still blank. Still looked fake. But something was different now. The tone. The weird calmness. Like this person really believed what they were saying. Then another message came in. "If you want proof this is real, check your bank balance." My heart was thumping now, like I could hear it in my ears. I opened my bank app. I wasn't expecting anything, but sitting there, clear as day, was a deposit for $2,000. No name, no sender, no memo. Just a CH transfer and a timestamp. 10 minutes ago. I dropped my phone. Literally. It hit the carpet and I just sat there, staring at it. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. You ever have a moment where reality feels like it's slipping? Like you just stepped into a different version of your life without realizing it? I couldn't sleep that night. Every car that passed outside made me think someone was watching. I unplugged my Alexa. I closed every app. I even duct taped the webcam on my laptop. Not because I thought it would help, because I didn't know what else to do. The next day, I canceled my therapy appointment. Dr. M texted me. "Everything okay? Want to reschedule?" I stared at the text for a full 10 minutes. I typed out, "Yes, sorry, I'm good, just busy," then deleted it. Then I typed, "Hey, do you have enemies?" Deleted that too. I finally just said, "Rain check. Might take a week or two. Appreciate you." He responded with a thumbs up. I stared at that little like emoji for way too long. I tried to go about my day. Went to work. Made TikToks for the food account I run on the side. Watched Netflix. But that $2,000 just sat there in my bank account like a loaded gun in my pocket. I didn't touch it. I didn't spend a cent. But it was there. The next night, they messaged again. "The offer is real. You can walk away, but we know you won't." Then they sent a Google Maps pin. It was the exact bench outside the building where I usually sit before therapy. "Prove you're capable. Send a photo from this location tomorrow at 5:10 p.m. No further instructions. No threats." But it didn't feel optional. That's when I realized this wasn't a joke anymore. They weren't bluffing. They weren't LARPing. They knew who I was, where I went, and they were watching. The worst part? I still don't know how they got my info. Instagram's locked. My Reddit is anonymous. I use a VPN for everything, even when ordering McDonald's. No one in my life knew I posted that comment. But someone, somewhere, did. And they weren't just playing games. I didn't sleep for 2 days after that message. You know that feeling when you wake up from a nightmare, but your body still feels like it's in danger? That's how it felt every time my phone buzzed. Every sound in my apartment, the refrigerator hum, the pipes, the wind, felt like someone breathing behind me. By Thursday morning, I'd convinced myself it was all a scam. I even drafted a Reddit post about it. Someone sent me $2,000 to kill a stranger. Should I call the cops? Then deleted it before posting. It sounded insane, even to me. At exactly 10:14 a.m., a new email appeared in my inbox. No subject line, no sender name, just an attachment, instructions.pdf. I shouldn't have opened it, but of course, I did. The file wasn't long, maybe 2 pages, but the formatting looked official. Clean layout, bullet points, proper grammar, like a contract. The header said simply, Engagement Protocol, Client 47A. Every line felt colder than the last. You will confirm surveillance readiness by 5:10 p.m. local time. No communication outside the approved channel. Do not involve law enforcement. You are being monitored for compliance. Your first act of proof will determine continuation. At the bottom, there was a signature that looked hand-drawn, jagged, like it was written with the wrong hand. Next to it, the page. That name sent an involuntary shiver through me. It felt ancient, like something you'd find written in a corner of the internet that shouldn't exist. Then my phone buzzed with a new message. We see you opened it. Good. Now listen, I don't know if it was paranoia or something worse, but right then my webcam light blinked once. Just once. Then went dark. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it cracked the corner of the screen. I left the apartment just before 5, hoodie up, earbuds in, with no music playing. I didn't want to hear my own footsteps. The city looked different that day. Too bright, like the world was acting normal on purpose. I stopped at a Starbucks for cover, ordered something random, and tried to steady my hands while pretending to text someone. When I got to the bench outside the clinic, I took out my phone and pointed it at the ground, pretending to scroll. A message came through almost immediately. Good. You follow directions. Wait for the next signal. There were people everywhere. A group of students laughing, a woman walking her dog, a delivery guy stacking boxes near the curb. It was all so normal. That's what made it worse. The idea that something horrifying could happen in daylight and no one would ever notice. At 5:14, the door opened. Dr. M stepped out, holding his messenger bag and a paper coffee cup. He looked tired, but calm, exactly like always. He walked toward the street light to cross, glanced both ways, then disappeared into the flow of pedestrians. My phone buzzed again. Perfect. We have confirmation. You're capable. Then another. You're part of this now. I didn't even notice the man sitting at the bus stop until he stood up. He was average height, wearing a dark coat, holding a paper bag from McDonald's. His hair was shaved on the sides, the rest hidden under a cap. As he passed me, he muttered without making eye contact, "Good job. Don't lose your nerve," and just kept walking. I sat there frozen until my bus came. I don't remember getting on or off. I just remember sitting at home later that night, staring at my cracked laptop, trying to convince myself I hadn't just met someone working for the page. That night, I dreamed about static. Just static. The kind that fills the screen when a broadcast ends. But if you listen closely, under the static was whispering. I couldn't understand the words, but I knew they were directed at me. When I woke up, the TV was on, glowing gray. The remote was across the room. I live alone. The next day, another $1,000 hit my account. This time, the transaction note said, Evaluation phase. Complete. I didn't even want the money. I just wanted them gone. I tried transferring it to another account. It bounced back. I tried withdrawing it. The ATM rejected my card. It was like the money wasn't really there, just a reminder that they could reach into my life whenever they wanted. By Friday, I was seeing faces everywhere. Every car felt like it slowed down when I passed. Every reflection looked like someone standing just behind me. Then, late that night, my therapist emailed me. Totally normal tone. "I'm worried about you. You've missed 2 sessions. You okay?" I almost replied, but then a new text popped up from an unknown number. "We see your inbox. Don't respond. You're under review." I dropped my phone. They were watching my email. That's when it hit me. I'd given Dr. M copies of my journals during therapy. He had my handwriting, my full name, details about my family, even my building code, because he once mailed me a worksheet. All of that information was out there. If the page really wanted to ruin me, they had everything they needed. So I did something stupid. I went to his office the next morning before he opened. The building's lobby had one of those old school buzzers with faded names. His was the only one that looked new. I stood there for a full minute, trying to decide if I should warn him. Then, behind me, a reflection in the glass door. Someone standing across the street, holding up a phone, recording. I turned around, and they were gone. Just gone. That's when the lights in the lobby flickered once, twice, then stayed dim. The elevator doors opened on their own. I swear I heard static again. Faint, like a whisper buried in white noise. I bolted. By the time I got back to my apartment, the air felt wrong, like when you walk into a room and someone's just left. That leftover warmth in the air. Except this time, it was cold. My laptop was open on the desk. Remember how I'd cracked the screen? Now it was fixed. Perfectly. And on the display was a single text document. No title. Just one line of text. "You didn't listen." That's when I started hearing the ringing. Not in my ears. In my walls. Like the faint sound of a phone vibrating inside the plaster. Sometimes it would move. From one wall to another. Once, it came from the ceiling. I tried calling the police again. Explained the stalker thing, the money, the hacked laptop. They told me to bring evidence. I said the evidence changes every time I look at it. The operator paused, then gently suggested I talk to someone about stress. I laughed. Too hard. Probably scared her. That night I sat in the corner of my room with all the lights on. I texted my friend Luke. He's the only one I halfway trust, and told him I thought someone was inside my apartment when I wasn't home. He texted back, "Are you serious? You posted that exact same thing last month." Except I hadn't. I scrolled up through our messages. He was right. There was a message from me. Same words, same punctuation, dated 3 weeks ago. The day before I ever heard from the page. The next morning, there was a letter taped to my door. Plain white envelope. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It showed me sitting at my desk in my apartment, wearing the same clothes I was wearing right now. I hadn't taken that photo. No one had been in here. At least no one I saw. On the back of the Polaroid, in messy black ink, Thursday, 5:15 p.m. Part 2 begins. I didn't know what that meant, but part of me already did. I never really believed in the point of no return, but I do now. And I passed it the second I picked up the envelope. That Polaroid, the one taped to my door, it messed with my head more than any of the creepy texts, the fake bank transfers, even the email hacks. You can ignore digital footprints, pretend there's some overseas scammer using a script, but a physical photo of you, taken inside your locked apartment while you were in it, that's not online. That's someone inside your world. That's not paranoia. That's proof. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even sit down. I just paced. I turned on the oven light at one point because I couldn't handle how silent the room was. I left my laptop open on the home screen, as if pretending to live normally would convince whatever was watching me that I wasn't breaking. But I was, and they knew. At 3:42 a.m., I got another message, not a text, a video, airdropped to my phone while I was sitting in my locked apartment. My hands were shaking before I even hit play. The video was 17 seconds long. It was dark, shaky, filmed from the floor of what looked like a moving vehicle. A van, maybe. There were faint voices, muffled, like someone whispering while wearing a mask. Then, the camera turned slightly to the left and stopped. It framed something sitting in the far corner of the van. At first, it looked like a pile of blankets. Then it moved. It was a man, tied up, duct tape over his mouth. He was crying, and in the corner of the frame, barely visible, was a sticky note stuck to the wall, written in black Sharpie. "This is your fault. Next time, it's someone you love." The video ended. No sound, no blood, no jump scare, just raw, cruel reality. I tried to call the cops. I swear I did, but the call wouldn't connect. It would ring once, then drop. I tried again and again. Wi-Fi on, Wi-Fi off, VPN on, VPN off. Every time, call failed. I tried texting Luke, the only person I trusted. His texts wouldn't send either. Instead, I got a return message. "This contact is no longer available." Like he didn't exist. Like they deleted him. At 4:12 a.m., the screen on my phone lit up with a new notification. "The page has invited you to a shared calendar event." The invite title, First Act. The time, Thursday, 5:15 p.m. The location, you already know. I didn't RSVP, didn't decline. I just stared at the screen like it had spoken directly into my bones. Thursday. I didn't go to work. I didn't eat. I didn't open my curtains. I just sat in silence, trying to figure out what they wanted. I thought about every bad decision I'd ever made, every post I ever made online, every therapist form I filled out, every free Wi-Fi I connected to, every time I joked about something dark just to seem funny in a group chat. It all felt like it had led here. At 4:58 p.m., I left my apartment. I took side streets, wore different shoes, left my phone behind, and carried a burner they sent me days ago. I hadn't touched it until then. It was already fully charged, GPS off, no SIM, just a note in the gallery that said, "Do not be late." 5:14 p.m. I was outside the clinic. The air was unnaturally quiet. It felt like the universe was holding its breath. And there he was, Dr. M, walking down the same steps, same pace, same black coffee in hand. He paused to check his phone. Looked normal, unaware, peaceful. I wanted to yell, to run up and say, "You're in danger. You have to leave." But I couldn't, because I already knew the truth. He wasn't the target anymore. My burner phone buzzed. "Your therapist is no longer the act. You hesitated. Someone else paid more." Then another text, an address, a new location, a time, 5:30 p.m. "You have 15 minutes. No cameras, no mistakes." This is the real test I ran. I don't even remember getting there. It was in Midtown, a weird little alley behind a glass tower office, the kind of place where the garbage is stacked neat and the shadows feel too clean. There was a blue dumpster, 2 green doors, and a delivery van idling nearby. I stood there, confused, until I saw the box, just sitting there, on the ground, plain brown, no label, no tape, just a handwritten note stuck on top. Open, use, deliver. I opened it. Inside was a jacket, black, security logoed, like a delivery driver's uniform, and a plastic bag. In the bag, a mask, a USB drive, and an earpiece. I don't know why I put them on. Maybe because I thought if I didn't, something worse would happen. The earpiece clicked on instantly, and the voice that came through was not human. It was digitized, glitched, like someone had run it through 10 filters to hide the source. But it was calm, methodical, and somehow more terrifying than someone screaming. Walk forward, door on the left, knock 3 times, deliver the drive, do not speak. My legs moved without thinking. The door was grey, unmarked. I knocked. 1, 2, 3. It opened. A woman answered, middle-aged, normal-looking. She didn't look scared, confused, or surprised, just tired. She looked me in the eye, looked at the mask, looked at the drive, and then, horrifyingly, she nodded and stepped aside. I walked in, gave her the drive. She took it without saying a word and walked back into a living room. On the TV was a frozen security feed, my building's hallway. Paused at the moment I picked up the Polaroid. The woman turned, finally speaking. They told me you'd come. You're the 3rd one this week. Then she sat down and started crying. Not loud, just quietly, like someone who knew this wasn't going to end well. The earpiece buzzed again. You did well. She was a handler. You're not done. Then a click, and suddenly audio started playing. A voice recording. It was me, in therapy, a session I never remembered being recorded. I could hear myself talking about my sister, my ex, my fear of losing control. And then, a different voice joined in, my therapist's voice, calm, gentle. Do you ever feel like you're watching your life from outside your body? I ripped the earpiece out, smashed it on the ground, ran out of that building like it was on fire. That night, the apartment felt even more wrong. The lights flickered. My TV turned itself on. The hallway outside my door smelled like burnt plastic. And when I opened my fridge, all the food was gone, replaced with copies of the same Polaroid from before. Dozens, all identical. My face, same pose, same clothes, same timestamp, 5:15 p.m., Thursday. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I delivered. But I think it wasn't about killing. Not yet. It was about breaking me. And I think they're almost done. I woke up at 2:19 a.m. to my phone vibrating on the floor. No ringtone, no message preview. Just that mechanical tremor that feels like an insect trapped under glass. When I picked it up, the screen was black except for one notification. Calendar reminder. The last task. 5 hours left. 5 hours until what? I hadn't agreed to anything, hadn't opened any messages since the night with the Polaroids, but somehow my phone still knew the schedule. The city outside my window was wrapped in fog. Even the neon looked tired. I made coffee just to hear something familiar, but the sound of the machine bubbling was almost unbearable. Every appliance in my apartment hummed in a different key, like the building was trying to communicate. On my laptop, new icons appeared on the desktop. 4 folders named Trust, Proof, Debt, and Final. The first 3 were empty. The fourth contained one file, a photograph. It was my therapist, Dr. M, sitting on a park bench, sunlight on his face, talking to someone just out of frame. He was smiling. In the corner of the picture, reflected in the stainless steel trash can, was me. Same jacket, same expression I had right now, except I hadn't been there. When I zoomed in, the reflection blinked. I couldn't breathe. I closed the laptop and shoved it into the closet, like that would erase the evidence of whatever was happening to me. Then the apartment intercom buzzed. It was the sound of static mixed with something else, a low, rhythmic tapping, like someone drumming fingers on a microphone. I didn't answer. After about a minute, the noise stopped, and the smell of rain and copper drifted in through the cracks around the door. When I finally opened it, there was a plain cardboard box sitting on the welcome mat. No markings, no tape, just a printed QR code and a note. Open only when you understand what you are. I didn't open it, not yet. At 4 a.m., I left the apartment. I couldn't stay inside another second. Every sound felt like someone whispering in another room. I walked down 7th Avenue, past the McDonald's, where I used to work nights, past a bus stop covered in peeling movie posters. The city was half asleep, but not silent. Cars hissed on wet asphalt, steam rose from manholes, and in every reflection, I caught sight of myself, but slightly off, like my face wasn't syncing with my movements. At one point, I saw a Starbucks across the street, lights on even though it was closed. Inside, behind the counter, stood someone wearing my clothes. They turned toward the window, raised a hand, and mouthed something I couldn't hear. When I blinked, the shop was empty. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Text message. You're almost ready. Go to the place where you learn to listen. The place where I learned to listen. It took me a second. Then I realized. The therapy office. The streets were empty when I got there. The building's glass door reflected the fog like a mirror. The directory panel was blank, every nameplate removed. But when I pressed Dr. M's buzzer, the door clicked open. Inside, the hall lights were dim. His office door was cracked. The smell of stale coffee and cleaning supplies drifted out. On the floor, there was a tape recorder, the kind with physical buttons, scuffed edges, like it had been used forever. A sticky note on top read, "Press play." The tape clicked and began to spin. At first, silence. Then Dr. M's voice, calm, measured, the way it sounded during sessions. Tell me when it started feeling real. My own voice answered, shaky, when they stopped pretending it was online. And what did they want? They wanted me to believe I was one of them. The recording crackled. The background changed. I could hear footsteps, like the microphone had been lifted. Then Dr. M spoke again, but his tone was different now, colder. Good. He's almost there, another voice replied, mechanical, distorted. Proceed with the final stage. The tape clicked off. I froze. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air thick. That's when my phone rang again. The caller ID said, Dr. M. I answered, heart hammering. Don't move, he said. They're recording this too. His voice was tight, urgent. Listen to me. You were never the target. You were the experiment. They needed someone who'd follow every breadcrumb. Someone desperate enough to prove reality can be edited. You're inside their broadcast. Now. Static swallowed the rest of his words. The line went dead. Then the tape recorder started playing again by itself. This time, it was today's date on the timestamp. And it said, Session 1, Subject has accepted integration. I ran down the stairs, into the street, into the fog that had thickened to the point where I couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. Every car I passed had its engine running, but no driver. Every phone booth rang as I passed, out of sync, creating a kind of mechanical heartbeat around me. At the corner near the McDonald's, I saw a shape in the mist, tall, still, wearing the same black security jacket they had given me for the first act. The figure raised its hand and pointed behind me. When I turned, I saw a row of televisions stacked in a storefront window, all showing me, standing there, turning in circles, fog all around. Above the footage, white text flickered. Live feed, the page network. I bolted. Every street led back to the same intersection. Every reflection showed a slightly different version of me. One smiling, one crying, one whispering, something I couldn't hear. Finally, I stopped running. The fog thinned, and I was back in my apartment building. Only it wasn't my apartment. The door number was the same, but the walls inside were wrong. No furniture, no lights, just the box I hadn't opened, sitting in the center of the floor. The note was gone. Now there was only a digital timer printed on the lid, counting down from 00500. My hands were shaking as the last minute ticked away. When it hit 0, there was a click. The lid rose slightly on its own, letting out a faint hiss, like air escaping a vacuum seal. Inside was another phone, identical to mine, but cracked across the screen. It lit up, showing the front camera view, and on the display, I saw my apartment as it used to be. The furniture, the lights, everything normal, except in the background, sitting at the desk, was me, typing. The me on the screen looked up, smiled faintly, and said, "You made it to the end of part 4. Then the screen went black. The real phone in my pocket vibrated once more. One new message. Part 5. Final transmission. Saturday, 5:15 p.m. Do not miss your own ending. Saturday, 5:15 p.m. If you've ever had a day that feels too quiet, like the whole world is waiting for you to make one specific mistake, that's what this day felt like. Even the air in my apartment was still, not calm, but paused. All week I tried to outrun the page. I deleted every account, burned every device, changed passwords I didn't even remember making. It didn't matter. The messages still found me. They'd started appearing in places messages shouldn't, reflected in elevator doors, flickering across bus stop screens, hidden inside the subtitles of YouTube videos I'd never watched. I realized they weren't sending me messages anymore. They were programming me. At 4:59 p.m., the lights in my building went out. Total blackness, except for a faint blue glow leaking through the window from somewhere below. I looked outside and saw the entire street covered in televisions, hundreds of them, stacked on top of each other, forming a wall of flickering light. Every screen showed a different feed of me. Some were seconds behind, some hours, some days. In one of them, I was asleep. In another, I was standing exactly where I was now, watching the screens. Then they all synchronized. Every version of me turned toward the camera and said, in perfect unison, "Broadcast begins." My phone rang. No number, just the page, across the display. I answered. A chorus of voices, layered over one another, like echoes in a tunnel, said, "You wanted proof. You exist. Here it is." Then silence. The television wall flickered, and the feeds changed. Now it wasn't just me on the screens. It was everyone I'd ever met. My co-workers at McDonald's, my sister, the barista who always messed up my order, They were all sitting somewhere unfamiliar, staring straight into the camera, repeating the same words in different tones. "You're the reason we're here." It didn't sound like blame. It sounded like a mantra. The phone buzzed again. Text message this time. "Step outside. You're live. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe I needed to know if the world outside still existed. Maybe I already knew it didn't." The moment I stepped into the street, the televisions turned toward me. Physically, like eyes rotating in sockets. The static on every screen condensed into a single image. A blank white room with one chair. Then a door opened beside the TV wall, exactly where there hadn't been one before. Inside, the same white room, same chair, same silence. I walked in. The door shut behind me, without a sound. The light was too bright to have a source, the air too clean to be real. The only object in the room was a small black console, sitting on a metal stand, a single button glowing red. Next to it, a note. "Press to end transmission. Your choice decides who stays." There was no explanation of who stays. No timer this time, no voice in my ear. Just me, the button, and the hum of whatever machine had been running this nightmare. I thought about Dr. M, about the woman in the apartment who said I was the third one, about Luke, whose messages had been erased. If I didn't press it, would they all vanish? If I did, would I? The red light pulsed faster, like a heartbeat. I reached out, fingers shaking, and the console spoke. "We built the monster you were afraid to become. Thank you for finishing your story." Then the button clicked on its own. Everything went dark, not like a blackout, more like someone had deleted the layer of the world that included light. For a moment, there was only weightless silence. Then a faint electronic chime, and a voice. My own, but calm, professional. "Welcome to the page. Please state your next assignment." I opened my eyes. I was sitting behind a desk. A monitor in front of me displayed an interface I'd never seen before. Lines of code scrolling beside live video thumbnails. Thousands of them. Each window showed a different person alone at night, lit by the glow of a screen. At the top of the monitor was a heading, Active Recruits, Project Page, and at the bottom, a blinking cursor waiting for input. On the desk, next to the keyboard, was an envelope with my name on it. Inside, a single Polaroid. It was of you, sitting in front of your screen, reading this story. And underneath, written in the same jagged handwriting I'd seen since the beginning, your turn. Thursday, 5:15 p.m.